Hello and welcome to MCFC 9320 PUBcast. Good evening, CM City, Pardo Oaks, Sean. Hope you're well. I don't know where Matt. Oh, there he is. I don't know why he popped off the screen. And we've got Stan the man.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Stan, we're live, so no swearing. You're in the Big Brother house.
In that bloody Big Brother house?
Yeah, so welcome everyone. Welcome, Stu. Welcome everyone in the chat. Obviously, Martin's with us tonight. Stan, Paddy, and Anne-Marie. Later on, we'll have somebody joining us from the 1894 group. Discussing where they're up to with the. Well, I was going to say potential boycott, but where they're up to with the boycott. You're all right there, Stan. You don't whiz there.
He's taking a turn for
I'm just having trouble with gravity. You're all right.
Yeah. Hello, Big Morg. Hope you're well, but we'll have somebody representing the 1894 group, probably about 20 past 7:30. So if you've got anything to ask them, that will be the time. We'll kick off with some tidbits, and I said tidbits there, Anne-Marie. Don't start smiling like that. Not 3 minutes in, and you're already lowering the show, Anne-Marie.
Can't help it.
Another written one, I think.
Yeah. So we'll do a few tidbits. I was going to smile again then. Before we discuss that. So a bit of a transfer roundup. So let's discuss. And again, none of us are in the nose apart from Martin. No, none of us are in the nose. It's just pure transfer speculation. So we've seen the rounds. We'll kick off with Frankie de Jong, and we'll bring you fresh in on this, Stan. Frankie de Jong is being linked with us today. Would that be a good signing, do you reckon? If it's true, and B, it happened.
Yeah, these usual terms and conditions apply to everything, innit? That we don't know what's going on. We don't know if we are talking to him. If we are talking to him, I'd rip Barcelona's hand off. Yeah, that guy can play.
This talk, isn't there? Potentially a Bernardo situation there, or even a Cancelo situation going the other way. Yeah. Now, I'd drive Cancelo around myself if that was part of the deal.
No, 100%. He's not adding to it. He's been a great player, Cancelo, but since December, I think he's burnt all his bridges, and he's not really adding to the squad now, is he? So if we can get the 40-50 million for him, and then offer Cancelo plus another 40-50 million, you don't know. But he's worth getting. Frankie de Jong, there's no doubt about it. He's somebody that you want in there.
Yeah. So, go on, Martin. Me and Martin have had a discussion about Frankie de Jong, and go on, Martin.
I'd swap Cancelo and Bernardo for him. You want me to be strictly perfectly honest? He is. I've never got excited about. I don't overly get excited about transfers. That I would. Because you are. I've never thought we'd get him because I always thought wages, fees, just something City wouldn't normally touch, but I just think he's absolutely phenomenal. Him and Kimmich, for me, are the two I'd want.
You're not getting Kimmich, just save your dreaming. Paddy, so Frankie de Jong is been rumoured to, well, not to him to want to leave Barcelona, but it's been rumoured that Barcelona have been trying to move him on now for 18 months or so. It's been linked with United. I think he was linked with Liverpool. Now, if we could do that, it'd be a bit of an exceptional catch, that wouldn't it?
They're trying to if you believe the papers, they're trying to offload him for financial reasons. Like as Martin says, I would give them Cancelo and Silva for him. That's how good he actually is. But would he swap Barcelona for Manchester?
What? Why wouldn't you?
I was going to say he's not exactly. He comes from Holland, doesn't he? It's not exactly known for its sun-kissed beaches and miles of coconuts.
Yeah,
He knows what a cold day looks like.
He's used to that now, Stan, but unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anne-Marie, what's your take on it?
Well, I'm going to agree, first of all, with Stuart's comment that if Rice is worth 105 million, then Bernardo's worth more than that.
You love Bernardo, don't you?
I do love Bernardo because
Tuffy got married today. Another one off the market. Mahrez is off the market. I know Bernardo's off the market. You need to start.
Does that mean he's not getting shut of his girlfriend then? Damn. That's him definitely gone then.
So,
I was thinking that, Martin. I was thinking
he's not married. Yeah. No,
I was hoping you'd get in there, Anne-Marie. You was the key to this to save Bernardo, so he doesn't leave us. We was hoping you'd get in there with Bernardo, so he ditches his missus, and we all live happily ever after.
Well, I don't know. In all honesty, I have to be honest. I've seen De Jong play a few times, but I don't know enough about him to know whether I'd rate him. The thing that concerns me is that United went for him big style last season and didn't get him. And quite often when they go for a player the way they did for him, they turn out to be a disappointment, don't they? And that, that would maybe put me off a little bit. But it's one of those, I trust the club. I trust Pep. He knows what he wants. And what will be, will be. I have to be honest and say, if Bernardo does go, I will be devastated.
Well, if it happens, it happens. I can see now because our season finished
3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. So all the players have been off on jollies after, especially because they went on international duty as well straight after the Champions League final. So they've been away for 2 weeks. You'd expect things to start moving a little bit now, Stan, wouldn't you? Now they're all back.
Yeah, it's beginning of July. You're going to start looking at stuff. Contracts have ended now, haven't they? There's a raft of free agents. Some of them aren't bad. 3-4 years ago, I think we'd have been in for a few of them, but things have moved on. Rest assured for you, Anne-Marie, De Jong and that kid, the centre back who went to Juventus, who played behind De Jong for Ajax. That's it. Those two, I would have ripped their hand off if we could have got the pair of them when they both moved on 3 years ago.
Well, they'd never give away a penalty then if you rip their hands off, would you?
That'll help. I'm always thinking ahead, you see, Andy. I might never be ahead, but I'm always thinking ahead. It was funny because I saw something in the paper the other day. It reminded me of you that they said they were going on about, 10 players could leave. There was another 10 players, youth players added onto that. So it's got to be silly season, hasn't they? I think you could put about 20 names down at City and have a discussion on whether you think they're going to stay or not.
But yeah, ultimately though, Paddy, that's down to speculation within the media and stuff like that. It's like we're hearing like that a certain Sergio Gomez will be in Pep's plans and he won't be leaving in the summer. Martin, don't cry.
I'm hoping he's in some plans that ain't football plans.
So no, listen, he's having a worldie on the world stage in it, Paddy, where that is confidence. He's getting his minutes. He's playing well. Not only is he playing well, Pep's not going to ignore what's going on the world stage in under 21 tournaments because that's part of the scouting network.
He is. He's playing unreal for Spain, in fairness to him, but like he hasn't really showed it as ours. And just to give you another scenario, Harry Maguire plays well for England. He doesn't play well for Man United.
And that's
I was just going to say, but at least Harry Maguire plays at centre back in both club and country. You know, Gomez is an attacking midfielder. It's you know, it's oh God, my memory's got honestly, my memory's going here. The lad who went to Arsenal, the fullback,
Zinchenko.
He's Zinchenko Mark too. I don't know why we're playing him at left back. He's all right. I mean, he probably isn't good enough to go at attacking midfielder, but have we just bought him to stock him up and then sell him on and flip another 10, 15 million on his price a year, 2 years later?
I tell you what's throwing me a little bit tonight.
Well,
A, we can see you, Stan. This is throwing me a little bit. A, we can see you tonight, Stan, and B, we can even hear you.
That's not a good thing if you can hear me.
You, as people said in the comments last week, mate, you contributed better sense last week in the comments. That was from the guys in the comments, not me, mate. I won't do that. Anne Marie, there's something there on the screen from Condinio. What I sort of agree with. We are notoriously awful at selling, aren't we? Now, there's two ways of looking at this, Anne Marie. I'll use Bernardo as a prime example, and I'll say as it is. I think we're better off keeping Bernardo and losing £40 million, letting him go next season, not season coming, season after with one year left. I'd rather lose 40 million on him by keeping him this season. If we get the rewards of trophies, which obviously will mean income, I think that's far more valuable than losing, say, 40 million on him next summer, if that makes sense.
Well, I don't think it's fair to say that he's awful at selling, because if you look at some of our key players, the likes of David Silva, Aguero, Vinny, they'd all come to the end of the time at City, and City, in fairness to them, said, "You've served us well, and here's your reward. You were going to get your free contract to wherever you want to go. You'll get your own signing on fee. We've done well out of you anyway. Happy days." Now, there's very few players that I think we've actually sold on where we haven't done reasonably well out of them. I mean, you just need to look at the likes of Sancho. We made, was it 11 or 12 million out of the Sancho deal from Dortmund to United? And you look at the package, yeah, and you look at the way he's played for United, and you just think, you know, we totally did get money for nothing there.
Yeah, but that's not. It's indirectly selling them that. I think what Condinio was trying to say there is we don't really sell players. All right, let's bring Dan in here as well. Good evening, Dan. We'll go back to the transfers and stuff in a bit. We've got Dan on from the 1894 group. Good evening, pal. Hope you're well.
Evening, everyone.
Yeah. So yeah, part of the stuff what I brought out on Twitter and stuff like what we're discussing tonight is transfers and stuff like that. But just as importantly, the boycott of the Community Shield. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that, buddy?
Yeah, so I've not seen any of the show this evening so far, so I'm not up to date with any discussions or what you've been.
No, all we've done so far, buddy, is transfer speculation so far. So yeah. We're fresh on the boycott.
Who's coming in? I hope we don't sell Walker and Bernardo, because two of our best songs are Edison and Aki, Walker and Akanji, and then the other one's Bernardo. So, like, if we lose them two, we're a bit snookered, aren't we, for the atmosphere?
Well, I think what we need to do is stop singing songs about players because they bugger off.
That's true. I'm a big fan of the kind of. To be honest, there was a lot of time where the songs never really changed at City. They were the same songs over and over again. And obviously, in the old days, you'd sing about the club, and Joe Mercer came, we played the game and everything. But obviously, then a newer fan base has come along, obviously, which is brilliant. And obviously, they sing about some of the stars and this sort of thing. So I suppose it has. I think the atmosphere has improved the last couple of years.
I think it's got more. Sorry, mate. I think it's got more to do with winning.
Yeah, well, that as well. But we've been winning before, and it's not been as loud. But you've had all parts of the stadium singing in this running. You know, the Arsenal game, the Liverpool game, Bayern, Real Madrid. I mean, I know it's like the must-win games, but the atmosphere was absolutely brilliant all across the ground. You know,
Apart from the families,
So the guys in the comments, yeah. So Dante's with us. So if there's anything you'd like to ask, well, we've got two things here because as we know, Martin will be going to the Community Shield. Martin will speak about that as well because with this, there's no right and no wrong. And Dante will tell yourself it's not an us versus them situation. It's just trying to bring a bit of clarity of what it's about. So if anyone wants to ask either Martin or Dante anything about the boycott and stuff like that, put them in the comments and we'll get them up and I'm sure the guys will answer.
Well, I'll tell you what we're thinking, obviously, because to sacrifice going to a game is like the hardest thing you can do. So if some opposition fans, obviously a lot of them do get it, but some are like, oh, you weren't going to go anyway and this sort of thing. You can't fill your ground. That's why you're absolute rubbish. The whole point was it was first of all it was a 5:30 kickoff and 5:30 would have been that's when we reflected what was seen on social media and looked like most people were going to give this game a swerve because it means getting home probably 1-2 o'clock in the morning because by the time you've got getting out of the ground let's say if we've won then there's only 2 trains back to Manchester, one at 10 to 9. You've got all the Arsenal fans in front of you on Wembley Way. You can't actually get out anywhere. So we need an earlier time. It was then moved to 4. So the feedback from a lot of fans is, well, that's not going to be enough. Because the Community Shield is one way you can normally take your family, get the kids into Wembley for a game that you can't normally get tickets for. And, sort of getting home at 4, even at 4, you're getting home quite late. It's going to put some people off going on the coaches. And we asked for 3, and I think 3 kind of means that most people can really go. I know there was people saying, I want Villa Park and I want this, that, and the other. Contractually, I don't know where it is. But certainly they're allowed, they're putting the Spurs friendly on at 2 o'clock on the same day, where if the FA is saying this is the pinnacle game, it's a curtain raiser, if that's the game that takes precedence, and they want one set of fans to attend in big numbers, this should be the one. The context here is they want 30,000 fans to go, fight their way through the traffic, coming home late on a Sunday night. For a lot of people who've been kind of, 25, 30 times in 12 years, it's maybe, you want us to go, but make it easier for us to attend the game. The other context thing is why it's maybe time to make a stand is because the ITV wanted this game to kick off at R5. They wanted the derby to kick off at R5. The police entered into there. So this could be Liverpool against Newcastle next year. It could be 2 other teams,
Absolutely.
northern teams, and it could be like ITV say, well, we think we'll get 12 million viewers if it's a 7:45 kickoff on a Sunday, like the Euros final was against Italy, and that would mean people get home 3 or 4 o'clock. So so people who are going to the game, great. At the moment, you're getting home a bit earlier, but we want really to look at 2 things. For those who want to go to the game, can we get the game moved to 3 o'clock so it's easier for people to get home earlier? And for those who don't want to go, and a lot are not going to go, then obviously we'll set up venues where they can watch the game and that charity donation can go somewhere else. So we think that it's very difficult, isn't it? It's like, it's the alien thing to do to not watch. It's not about not watching the team. It's about trying to say to the FA, where do we fit into all this? Because it can happen again. Now, 4 o'clock will be enough for some people to go to the game and think, well, I'm going to go anyway. That's the best we can do. But I just think there's a bit more to it that can be won. How do we make progress on season tickets if prices go up too much on other kickoff times? It's by collectively standing your ground, and a small sacrifice might mean a big result at the end of the day. And the other thing I'd say is we used to go into Newcastle 8 o'clock on a Monday night or Southampton or whatever it is, but that's usually 3,000 tickets. So everybody lives in that place, and then it's easier to get home. I think getting 30,000 to go to Wembley, that'll be our allocation, which we don't usually sell it out anyway. You're asking them to fight their way back. I think it's a big ask to ask fans who are going there all the time. And we could be going there 5 times next season if we get to all the finals, including Champions League, to go to Wembley. And if those coaches aren't full, it was dear enough to go to Wembley in June, what do you call it, June 3rd. If you can't fill a coach, you're going to have to then go on and drive there anyway, which means, you're leaving home at 8:30, 9 in the morning, you're getting home 2 o'clock in the morning. So you want to go, absolutely with our best wishes, but we're trying to achieve a better result. It's a bit of an experiment also with fans' power, and a lot of fans say, well, took so long to come back on the 4 o'clock, I'm not going to go anyway.
What I have seen, Dante, is because obviously I'm following this very closely on Twitter while that Musk fella's letting us and stuff like that. That's another story. And they start after the initial piss taken and stuff like that from rival fans saying, "Oh, you can't fill your stadium, la di da di da." There's more support coming in now. Especially when the MCFC food bank is posting stuff and stuff like that. Now we're actually seeing more and more support coming. Like Martin, now we know you're going. We know you've donated. You're not anti this, anti that, but you've got different views on it, haven't you?
Yeah, and like I said, I've done my donation. I've spoke to MCFC Food Bank about it, and I've looked at it in a completely. I've looked at it because at the beginning I was totally with it, 100% with it, and I'm with it in terms of the Wembley part and things like that. I looked at it from a different angle. I understand the Wembley thing. That's my biggest gripe. It shouldn't be at Wembley. I thought the atmospheres at Miller Park at the King Power were far better. Far better. And it is easier. And it's fairer as well from Arsenal's point of view and City's point of view. The Sunday thing, this is where I struggle with it a little bit. Because the Carabao Cup finals are always on a Sunday at 4 or 5 o'clock kickoffs. And we all go down there. So I was sort of like, yeah, does that mean that we're going to boycott the Carabao Cup if we get there and that's on a Sunday, which 9 times out of 10 it has been, and that thing kicks off at 4 p.m. or something like that, or 5 p.m. So I can't, and then the other thing was, part of me feels it's not a big enough match to make the impact it needs to. Because like Dante says, we don't notoriously sell out the Community Shield anyway. I think it needs to be. To me personally, I think it would take far more sacrifice. I understand this. If you had a mass walkout in a Premier League or an FA Cup game,
that's when you be hurting the players, mate.
But your first game back from winning the treble, and not all the fans were going to be there.
No, right. So from my point of view, no to a Premier League match because that is our bread and butter. With regards to the Carabao Cup final is predominantly played on a Sunday at that time. That's because there's not much option really because it's played in a season. This is effectively a friendly match. Now, for me, a neutral venue would have been absolutely ideal. It really, really would. There's nothing to stop them playing it on a Saturday. Okay, we're playing, our pre-season in Japan
on the Sunday. So apparently they're not back till Wednesday. They're not getting back into Manchester till Wednesday. So I don't know. I mean, Dante might know. City might have asked for this to go to the Sunday.
No, I think
back till Wednesday.
I think we come back on the Tuesday. We play Atletico Madrid, don't we, or something?
I thought,
we're not expecting
Atletico Sunday,
are we, Martin? So I think there might be, we're not expecting like last year we didn't play the full team. I think, and certainly when we played Arsenal once before, we didn't play a full team. On top of
that, Dante, from my perspective, our proper curtain raiser, we kick off on a Friday at Burnley. Now, for me, that's more important than playing a Community Shield match on a Sunday, even at 4 o'clock, because we're not going to play the full team in the Community Shield. I guarantee that because historically we don't do that. So let's play it on a Saturday. Give our main first teamers that extra day's rest because they're going to have to go straight at it at Burnley on the Friday night game.
Can I just come back to speak to Martin? So I totally respect the fact you got the game. It's the most natural thing in the world, isn't it, to go to the game? You know what I mean? And it's when the tickets go on sale, whenever they do go on sale, obviously a lot of people will have that kind of torn thing at that time as well, won't they? What I would say is to do something like not go to the game. A lot of these clubs abroad, the fans, they do it and they get success, they get changes. But here we don't do it. We're not used to it at all. So if there's a game, I think that might the trigger. Remember, was the time, and it's not particularly the date, because it's most of the times it is on a Sunday, and most of the time it is on Wembley. I'm like you, prefer it to be at Villa Park or something, but that wasn't the trigger this time round. It was the original time. And when we played the Carabao Cup finals against Liverpool and Sunderland and this sort of thing, which was a 4 o'clock kickoff, I think fans would see that as a proper trophy, a proper competition, and I think they wouldn't want to. He'd say that would make more of an impact. It absolutely would. But to get to that stage where fans are going to do that at that game, I think that would really, kind of hurt the players, if you like, because it's a massive piece of silverware. But also fans have to build up in stages to get used to thinking, oh, we've got the power to do this. When the Scousers all walked out on the ground 77 minutes because they put the prices up for average tickets. Liverpool froze the season ticket prices because they panicked because 12,000 people walked out. So it's like underestimating. A lot of fans will say, I'll take the 4 o'clock because, we're not going to get better than that and this sort of thing. And it's like, well, do we know our place? Or is it that what we're supposed to be? We're down there and the FA are up there. It is. I think the reason why a lot of people feel they can walk away from it this time round is because it's, say, just the Community Shield. I do understand that point about, it's the first game back for the players. They might look and see there's 7,000 there out of a 28,000 allocation, but it won't be for the fact of we don't love the players or the club. I think it's the fans saying, help us get to Wembley, help us with these arrangements. And the FA have had so much time to deal with it,
I totally get it. And like I said, I do bat and I've donated. I'm not saying anything against that. And I agree with you on the Wembley. My issue, I've always seen when you do a protest, and this is not a protest to me, has to make the biggest impact. So you make the biggest sacrifice. So that's why I was looking at a Premier League games. Because the problem is, don't know if anyone, you probably know it, Dan, they're going to move Premier League games to a 7 p.m. Sunday kickoff anyway.
Yep. Which is why we've got to try and get in there and get a voice heard. So with the difference there, I'd say, Martin, is and if it's a 7 o'clock game, which again is not ideal, but we'll all go down to Arsenal or Crystal Palace on a Wednesday night, 7:45 kickoff. I think the point is there is it's 3,000 fans that are going. So that there's not going to be once you get out the stadium, you're on the motorway in 10 minutes. It's 3.5 hours home, but that's to be expected. You take that into consideration. When you're having to go in and out of Wembley, and they want us to bring the full allocation, that's where the problem is. So we could play Spurs away on a Wednesday night, and it's 3,000 tickets, and it's 7:45. You kind of know what you're getting there. It's when it's this bigger allocation, it's this showpiece event, and you want us to attend. We're going to Wembley all the time. And I think that's another thing. There's a bit of Wembley fatigue there where it's like, well, surely we can't expect us to go at 5:30. Then it was a whole week and it's like, well, now it's 4 o'clock. And they were very quick to put out the statement saying, we've listened to it, we've took into consideration all the different aspects. But we talked to the police, they talked to the local council, they talked to the broadcasters, ITV, because they wanted the 5:30 slot. We didn't speak to the fans. And the biggest stakeholders are the fans. So what I'm saying is some people will go, some people won't go. With it being a success or not in terms of making a statement, can we do something in a future game? Don't really want to, but if you had to, for whatever reason, it's like a stepping stone. We're not used to this culture of flexing our muscles as fans. There's no point arguing with the FA. They won't listen to us anyway. Let's take the 4 o'clock. But then don't be moaning about it on Twitter when you're coming home at 1 o'clock saying absolute shambles again at Wembley and absolute nightmare. This is the chance, if you want to do something about it, to do it. But if you want to go to the game as normal, who am I or anyone to tell you not to go? You're the Blue and you've been going probably longer than me. So, sure, everyone's entitled to go at the game. What we're saying is there is another thing there. Think about the big picture, which is it affects us this year and it's definitely about us. But this also could apply to any other set of fans. You know what I mean?
Dante, just out of interest, did we have any support from the club itself?
Well, we don't always deal with the club. Do you know what I mean? So the club will deal with the official sports club first and City matters, because they'll see them as the, if you like, official bodies that they deal with. So when we deal with the club, we don't speak to Soriano or Cardona or this sort of thing. We have to deal with people who deal with the atmosphere side. They'll say, what have you got planned for this week? This is what we're trying to do. Yes, you can do that. No, you can't. Or wherever it may be. So things that affect the atmosphere, if people can't go, we think, oh, that's to do with the atmosphere because we want a good atmosphere. So, but stuff, normally political stuff, we can't get involved with. So the official supporters club have said, we can't like officially endorse anything, but then they have sent out mails and stuff for people to make individual decisions, which is absolutely great. So the thing is, it's like, and some of the City Matters people also sign the letter. Some of them, I don't want to get involved. So that's fine. I could say it's a personal choice thing. The club read our social media, and sometimes it's better to do things publicly, because that's how you get change rather than privately. And they're very busy. You know, there's all doing all sorts of stuff at the ground. Danny Wilson, for example, he promised us like a meeting about the new North Stand redevelopment. It's not really geared to the atmosphere. There's a load of boxes halfway down level 1. We're not going to move. We're going to stay where we are in South Stand, because it means that, you know, you want everybody to move to one end and a load of people each other. People are sick of moving about, and people are sick of losing the seats to corporates. So we're there if people want to speak to us. We think we have got a voice because we've got a couple of thousand members, but we're not the official sports club. They will never speak to us in the same way that, because they don't undermine, and rightly so, the work of the official sports club and other bodies that are, if you like, elected through the club. Do you see what I mean?
I tell you what speaks volumes for me, Dante, is the support from, I know it's not always everybody's cup of tea, but Henry Winter, you although he's not saying I agree with what they're doing over the boycott and stuff like that, for him to actually put it out there, for me, is showing a show of support, because that's also getting it out there on a more wider audience, with him being sort of like a mainstream journalist and stuff.
But you know, I mean, so everybody knew about it first last week, and then they moved it from 5:30, so they'd listened, but then they decided very quickly with ITV, no, we're going to do 4:00. So Henry Winter's got involved now. Great. To be honest, when we had the cast overturned, there is City in the clear. Yeah. Henry Winter was disappointed in him, because he's normally quite fair with City. He's not as bad as some of these other journos. And he said even there, questions still remain and this sort of thing. And I just there's me and a couple of the guys run the Twitter feed. I unfollowed him because I thought, we've just been cleared and you're still banging on about it. And to be fair, then I only refollowed him the other day because he was then posting about, he is quite good on fans' issues and stuff like that. But there you go. A lot of the journos, but we won't deal with certain journos. We don't deal with the Sun, the Mail, even the Guardian, because they're having to go at City over like the ship means slavery and all this sort of stuff. We don't deal with what do you call it? We deal with certain outlets and put it out there who really haven't got an agenda against City. It's very hard to find someone who isn't anti-City, but the Evening News is generally all right. And the press associations, they'll give it to everybody. Do you see what I mean? So that's it. We can get something out there, like the official sports club. So the stuff that we can say that they can't say, but the stuff that they can do that we can't do, and that's quite good. Yeah. It's like we don't threaten them in any way. We don't tell them what to do, and they won't tell us to do. And most of our members are members of official supporters clubs. The official sports club's got 20,000 members. We've got 10% of that. But a lot of our members will be in branches and go on coaches because they get the tickets, but they like to be with us because maybe if they need something to say, we'll say something. And they've given us money over the years, the official club. There's no, for us, it's no blue on blue thing. And, we've had to say, look, we'll put on as many shows as people want in town if people want to do something. At the end of the day, we've made the case for this is a thing where you think about giving it a swerve. I think it can be one where there's, it makes a statement. You should have 2 sets of fans in the ground. There's still time. They've not put the tickets on sale. They could turn around and say the game is a 3:00 kickoff, and we put in the last statement that should ensure an excellent turnout. The only issue is the longer it goes on, the
people are making more plans to go to the venue.
getting too late to book a train. Hotels are going up next week, and you think they put the tickets out 6-8 weeks beforehand, but they always do it like 3-4 weeks beforehand, don't they? When it gets too late to make a decision, so it's not a League Cup final.
Have you felt the support so far from not just City fans, but other club supporters? Like I know Newcastle, even Liverpool have the spirit of Shankly. I've seen that they're showing the support and stuff like that. And it's exactly what you said earlier, pal, where it might not be us next year. It might be Newcastle versus Liverpool, who are going to be there. So they'll be bleating on about it then, and rightly so. But I know City fans being City fans will support that, because this is the battle what we've been trying to fight for a long time.
Yeah, so it might not be the same. So the context also is like people have spent so much money. The semi-finals, we're always there. We're the same fans that were there when we were rubbish. Now the team's improved, but we have to go like on average twice a season to Wembley, and you want to bring your family. It's a day do. So Newcastle against Liverpool, they may have a bad kickoff time, but again they haven't had to go into Wembley all the time. And I think that fans are sort of saying, "I'm not prepared to go at R5." Then it's a week at 4 o'clock. I don't know. It's one they could, so we could make a statement. So try and you negotiate with bodies. If you turn around and say the boycott's off, they've got no incentive to move the kickoff to 3 o'clock, have they? But if the first week of sales go on and there's only 500 tickets sold, they'll move that ticket. They'll move it to 3 o'clock because they need the City fans in the stadium. So, what are you waiting for? Just get on with it, and then everybody's happy then.
Yeah, because we're gonna get ultimately people who've paid for the to go to the venues like the Band on the Wall, which I've already got my ticket because straight away I was in support. But on your perspective, Martin, what's and you don't have to answer it, mate. What's made you think I'm still gonna go out of curiosity?
Part of me is giving up the ghost because I don't think the club care what the fans think a lot anymore. I really don't. I think we got, like Dante said about the extension, we were all told it was going to be a wall. It was never going to be a wall. Then you heard about the tunnel club going in it, and it's going to be more corporate and everything. That wasn't what the plans that came out. Spoke to, like I said, I went down to the, when you went to see the plans for the extension and everything else. And it was, get your vote in. We're going to get, decide whether we're going to do this. I was speaking to two security guys, what they're called, who were down there. The decision had already been made. They'd already been told they were closing the club shop up. I said 2 months ago they were closing the shop and it was going to where the City at home is.
Yep.
Hey presto, 2 months later, that's happened. It was all a thing of, it was just all blue tape stuff. Even the City Matters group come out and said we didn't really get discussed about this.
They had no notes at all. They had no notes at all. And on Caldoon's video last week, they're still showing those artist impressions of things that hadn't been changed. So it looks like a done deal sort of thing. But see, we think the atmosphere is improving. So why would we want anyone else to change it? Now?
Yeah. And then the madness to stick a smaller tunnel club. It's like you can't try and get an atmosphere going and then bang a tunnel club there. That's just stupid to do. I'm not saying. I just think it's like the hotel. The hotel is not built for me or Dante or you or anybody else. It's for people. We pay our money, our seat's done. You don't want me anymore. I know that, but I came to this. The reason why I'm going is because the 4 o'clock one was a big thing because I'll get home about 11ish. Because I generally get out because I'm disabled parking. I get out of Wembley about 6ish. It'll get done 6:30. I'll be out of Wembley by about 7:30, and then 3 hours back up to Manchester 10:30ish. So I thought that'll do me.
Okay, that's your perspective. How about those on public transport? I think this is more geared towards them because there's no guarantee there's not going to be a rail strike here either, is there?
But that's where the club should then put coaches on.
Well, I think that the coaches as well. You go on your official branch, you go to your supporters club, the coach. To go to Wembley, it's a day do on the coach, and you like going to Wembley because you can have a few cans on the coach. So you kind of the driving. You have a few beers. You end up there. You win somewhere, and then you go home and have a few more beers. Yeah. If 10% of people don't go on that coach doesn't run because they can't make the. Otherwise you pay 70, 80 quid a ticket ahead.
Yeah, they can't make the cost.
Coach. Which means the people who then want to go to Wembley are going to have to drive, which means that some of them may not go. So we kind of don't know how it's going to affect the overall thing. It's for me, they got it wrong by saying it was a 5:30 kickoff. There's not been a precedent for a 5:30 kickoff at any point before. The Sunderland, Liverpool, the FA Cup games, even the Community Shield before was a 4 o'clock. We played Liverpool, I'm sure, on a Sunday when we won on penalties. It was 4 o'clock. That was a good few years ago, so we didn't have as many. We've had about 10 more Wembley trips since then, but obviously it was announced and the kickoff time didn't change. So maybe people made that decision to go at that time. Whereas this time round, it's been handled, I think, wrongly. And they assume that everyone can just, and I know everyone got out of Istanbul at 3 a.m, but it was the Champions League final, and you kind of make an exception to do that because it's the Champions League final. You don't need to put yourself through that for the Community Shield.
I think another thing, Dancy, is that, if we want to follow up, because you agree with Martin there that, doing a protest with the Charity Shield, nobody's absolutely interested in it anyway. But who the enemy in the here is the FA, because they're now making us go to Wembley for semis. They're making you go to Wembley for the final. If we're going to start if we're going to start boycotting or going out after 77 minutes, why don't we just target FA Cup games rather than league games?
Well, then it becomes a thing which is, can we please everybody? Then we've had very little criticism with this thing because we've kind of said, look, if you're still going to go, obviously you're going to go, and everybody respects everybody else's point of view. I think it's the FA Cup semi. Let's say it was the derby against United in June. I mean, we're not going to boycott that game because there's so much on that game. We don't dislike the FA, but we've got to beat United and we've got to win the double. So
equally, we could be playing Peterborough away or Peterborough at home or any team. That's the thing with the FA Cup. You don't know who you're going to play. Now, the only way they'll sit up and notice is when you affect their money. They're not going to be bothered if we didn't go to a Premier League game. I mean, we've got enough problems with the Premier League as it is. But that's a whole new, that's a different ball game. But the only way you can really start forcing the FA is to say to them, listen, you should never have built Wembley in London. You should never have started doing stuff because you've overpaid for it. And let's get this right. This Charity Shield used to go around the country. I can remember it. It went around the country. You look at where we won the Charity Shield. They've not all been at London.
Well, 68 was at May Road, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah. I mean, even the other year when we at Leicester, that wasn't at Wembley. They can do it. They don't want to do it because it's costing them money.
Yeah, there was a reason they'll stand behind that. It was the women's women's World Cup final, wasn't it?
The principle.
That was the only reason. No, but there was a genuine reason why it could be. What I mean is, if it could have been at Wembley, they would have had it at Wembley. Yeah. It wasn't
you're right, it's withholding. So what he's saying is, if you don't go to the game, then you're not giving the FA your money, which is perfect. This is giving people a chance to do that. And if you charity, like Martin's done, you can give the money to charity, and he's done that, and that's absolutely brilliant. So, but the thing about do we do something in a really big game that counts, this sort of thing? The stepping stone, City's fans' mentality at this moment would not back that. They'll be like, get behind the team. There's so much on this big game, and this is like, you've got to start somewhere with like a test, and it's like a test to see how many would want to go through the boycott. And you can see some people not ready to do that, and that's absolutely their prerogative. So, 20,000 boycott, that's one thing, and if 5,000 boycott, that's another thing. You'll know where you stand for a future.
Can I ask a question, Dante? Sorry.
Yeah.
With it being a Community Shield, because I know it was different when it was the Charity Shield, the FA don't make a lot of money out of this anyway, do they? And it all meant to go into the community.
I think that's the case. But it's a prestige thing for the FA as well, isn't it? It's like this is our curtain raiser.
No, but that's what I mean. It's about the money aspect. They're not making money out of it anyway. So that was my other issue of, like you said, the media are against us anyway. I've just got images in my head of a homeless bloke on the back of a newspaper. City fans don't care as the headline, and I know that.
What I say is though, but if there was no boycott, if it was a normal game and we hadn't spoke up, it'd still be kicking off at R5 and you'd be getting home at 1 o'clock now, right? So, and then there would be, say, 3,000 City fans there. Then the media would be right in having a field day saying City fans don't care. However, it's shouted up already, a lot of people are not going to be going. And here's the reason why. Media can't say anything because it's well known that there's a boycott on.
And on the flip side of that, if that scenario was to happen, Martin, that City fans don't care, a homeless bloke on the back or the front of a newspaper, you'll have all the organisations like MCFC, Food Bank coming out and saying, actually, that's not true because these fans have raised X amount of money, which has gone in to the community, which is enabling X, Y, Z to be fed. Paddy, Anne-Marie, what's your take on this?
For the FA and the Premier League are two different animals. We don't have an issue with the Premier League. As Dante says, you have to go to Southampton 8 o'clock on a Monday night. That's just part and parcel of the process. But if you want to make a statement and embarrass the FA because that's what we want to do, and make them agreeable, they are demands, and I don't think they're on. I don't think they're kind of outrageous demands because, like, Arsenal just have to jump on the tube and they're there. We're traveling 3, 4 hours, 5 hours on a coach to get down there. But there's no point in protesting at a Premier League game because that's neither here nor there. You are hurting the team at that stage. By also protesting against the FA and not turning up and not buying the tickets, as Stanley says, and when the tickets go on sale and there's only 500 sold and there's 30,000 waiting, the club will do something about that as well. Because they'll have to intervene and say, look, Jesus, we want our fans there. Can we come to some agreement? Even if the club went and said, we'll supply the coaches, I know they'd probably do that if there's a rail strike. But the issue is with the FA, it's not with the Premier League, and we have to separate that. It's fine to protest against FA, even like Stanley says, like an FA Cup game against United, we're not going to protest against that. We're going to be there. This is a golden opportunity. Mm-hmm. Probably the only opportunity we have to take a stand and make a stance and say, this is the way it is. We are the stakeholders. We fund this game.
That's presuming they care about us.
From my point of view, I would much. I know we don't have to sell it out for the Community Shield anyway. However, I'd rather see a 3/4 empty Wembley than a half full Wembley because I don't care about the piss takers who say empty seats, la di da di da, because I know this is closer to home, innit, where we're doing this for a reason. First and foremost, to embarrass the FA about the way they're treating not just City but not Northern fans, and B, it's going to a great cause. What is going into our community? It's a community shield. It's going into our community.
But let's not forget ITV, the broadcast there as well. The ITV, because this is what started it. The FA agreed to ITV's suggestion of 5:30. I remember the first Monday night game, QPR. We were the first ones on a Monday night, and then it was the first pay-per-view game, Colchester. But where does it end? Where does it end? Where I know some fans will be like, if we play at 3 o'clock in the morning on the moon, I will still go. But at some point, you kind of miss. When you get a Saturday 3 o'clock game, it's absolutely brilliant. It's like, God, I remember this. I remember going to the game at 3 o'clock on a Saturday. It didn't take up your whole weekend, didn't take up your whole day. Whereas a lot of the times it does.
And I think what you quite rightly said earlier, Dante, is on away days in the league or league and stuff like that, there's 3,000 City fans travelling, whereas this, it's potentially 30,000 City fans travelling. So the logistics of moving them round on a Sunday evening, and it's just not viable. Anne-Marie, what's your take on this?
Oh, well, I think what this highlights for me is where the fans stand in the whole thing of football, because whether it be the Charity Shield or whether it be a league game, everything now, absolutely everything, is dictated by the media. So, like you say, whether we're playing Southampton on a Monday night at 8 o'clock or whatever, it's nothing to do with clubs. It's all to do with what the television companies want. And that's what's ruining it for us, because that's why you don't have your same old 3 o'clock on a Saturday where you know what you're going to do. You know you're going to go to the game. You know you're going to go out after the game, have a few beers, and then spend Sunday recovering. That's the kind of thing. And
I want to go to the match with you, Anne-Marie. You sound brilliant.
Well, yeah, we have our moments, Fancy, but it just shows that the fans are not taken into consideration at all in any of these games. And that is the disappointing thing for me, because without the fans, the game's nothing.
I think that's the thing with me. I'm going, and I think maybe it's the point of, do you know the sad thing, and what I mean by they don't care of, we're not, all of us here are still looking at City as our local team. But to Manchester
not
City,
anymore.
We're not anymore.
No.
We're not that anymore. There's people in America and Africa and everywhere else that are probably more important than us now. And that's the thing of, because listen, like I said, I've donated and I agree with it. I'm going, part of the reason I'm going is because I'm taking my cousin who's never been to a game, never been to Wembley. And this is the only opportunity they'll get of going. So the other thing is, like, they're going to move Champions League, moving Champions League games stateside. They're going to do it with or without us. This is my issue. It's whether we go all in or we don't. It's like you said, maybe that is the best way. Like you said, it's a bit of a test, see how it goes. Because a lot of fans I know are still going. So I don't know what the numbers will be down there. I know loads that have done what I've done and done both.
Yeah.
So,
and that's it. So just because it's a new concept, but at the end of the day, if everybody did collectively say we're not going to go, I'd make a statement. If end up 15,000, 20,000 still going, they'll put it at R5 next year again, and you got the same problem. So at some point, you're making your own case. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. You have got the power to delay things and stop things, but you just have to do it if you feel you're ready to do that. And I think obviously some people are, some people aren't. It's the hardest thing in the world to not go and watch your own team.
It is. So the guys in the chat, as Muddy Duck quite rightly says, what's your thoughts on this? I did ask you earlier. Do you think it's right to boycott it? Because I think there's no better opportunity than this, with it being a Community Shield match. And I know it's everybody I've spoken to, 99.9% people, either on our Facebook group or even my Twitter feed, they're all pretty much universal saying that Smith, this is a right thing to do. It's there's no better opportunity to make a stand against the greed of the FA. So let us know in the comments, guys. So Martin, and what Dante said quite rightly earlier, it's not an us versus them situation. It's everybody, and it hurts not to go and see City. It really, really does. But I'm willing to sacrifice this, a Community Shield, meaningless. I don't mean meaningless. It's we'd have killed God knows how many years ago to go to a Community Shield, but now it's a meaningless match because we're not going to put a full strength team out anyway. What would I rather do? I'd rather put a few quid into supporting the local community in the food bank.
I've done that and I've done both.
No, nobody's saying you're not, but nobody's saying you're not. But what I'm saying is a great thing to do universally. I want to see a near as empty Wembley as we can, because
that was the next question. What are the expectations? Because I know you spoke to her. I spoke to her and they're going.
I spoke to more than you.
I'm not meaning it in that way. It's like, you know, a lot of the big city media accounts are all still going down.
Yeah, but to be fair, there's a lot of these big city media accounts what don't go to matches because they pay to.
I know that, but what the point I'm trying to make,
and that's not. And by the way, that's not having a go at anybody. Sort of like, but if we're on about these big city media accounts who are going, well, how come they're all of a sudden they're going when normally they're not? They're doing watch along. They don't normally go. So why are they going to go to this?
My opinion is, I respect the whole idea, and like I said, I agree with majority of it, and it sounds weird, but I'm still going. I'm going for my own personal reasons as well. Mm-hmm. But the simple fact of it is, like Paddy was saying and Stan was saying, do you know what I'd do? And like I said, it makes a bigger sacrifice. And I know it'd hurt the team. But where it hurts the team is where the sacrifice comes in. The bigger the impact, the louder the noise. Do it at an FA Cup semi-final, because that's the joke here. To me, it's not just the kickoff time and ITV. It's the whole aspect of Wembley, because the thing's a white elephant that I got told of someone who's financially, with it, is that they're in the hole at the minute. They're majorly in the red with Wembley. They're not making the money out of it that they actually need to make out of it to pay the repayments back.
But
they're never going to move.
But Martin, like Dante said, this is like a tester for maybe a bigger issue. It's testing to see how many do it now. So it's something like an FA Cup semi-final. Listen, that's taking it for granted that we are in an FA Cup semi-final, by the way. That's not getting ahead of ourselves. But if that scenario happened where City are in next season's FA Cup semi-final and this boycott goes well, this could be the semi-final could go on a different level, Dante, couldn't it?
No. So I think that's, again, it's what will hurt the club there. If we got a semi-final, it's very difficult for me. This was one where it's a tipping point. The original tipping point was R5. So for somebody who still wants to go to the game, the only difference is we agree on both most things, all as Blues. So the reason that someone will still go and someone will not go is, I think that's the tipping point. I don't want to go and give them my money. For someone else, that's not the tipping point yet. If the game was at 9 o'clock at night, I wouldn't go. If the game was at 6 o'clock at night, I wouldn't. If the game was at 4, I'll still go. So there's a tipping point. For you mentioned Wembley there, Martin. That was dead interesting. I mean, I actually enjoy going to Wembley because we went so long without Wembley, and for it's people do love going to Wembley. It's the actual getting to and from Wembley, which is to me like the issue. I love going to Wembley, I love being there and being part of the spectacle, but it's the kind of the kickoff time, and we are always the ones having to travel. And we're with the 2012 Charity Shield when we played at Villa Park. Chelsea didn't sell out their allocation; they had 5,000 short. So the Londoners are not used to travelling like we have to do all the time, and they just think, it's always been at Wembley. Get used to it. But if the boot was on the other foot, and you had to travel to Manchester all the time, they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't sell out.
I totally agree with you. It's like the England thing. All I'm saying is that Wembley's always been for the finals. That's what it is. And I do agree with you. I think it's a bit of fatigue with Wembley, City fans at the minute. I think we're at a point where, like me in 99, I was sat there waiting for Gillingham to go and lift their trophy because I was like, no, I'm watching this because I don't know when I'll be back or if I'll ever come back. And now you're going 3-4 times season. And I understand it. I totally get it. I think personal reasons are part of it as well. It's different for me. I'm not a big drinker. I can drive. I can be back home here at 11 o'clock, back home in Manchester at 11 o'clock at night. Some people live a bit longer away, so they're going further afield. They might get home a bit later. So I think it's all personal situations on traveling and everything else.
I do agree. It's a personal choice at the time. The only thing I'd say is that us as an independent group, if we didn't speak up now, when do we speak up?
No, I'm not saying what you're doing is bad, but I agree. I do agree with the whole thing.
Yeah. But you absolutely go there and bring the cup back, mate. That's absolutely. I mean, I don't know if there probably will be a few tourists there and stuff, but that's the way it goes.
With what Alex asking there, is anything from the 1894 or any other organisations who will be going about banners and stuff like that? To like a silent protest, if you like, inside the ground.
I don't think any of the leadership of 894 are going. There might be some individual members who go, but I don't think we'll be putting anything out on the seats because, if we're not going, then there's no point. The club sometimes do their own things at Wembley, but it depends how many people are there. Sometimes we can't do, like we didn't do Istanbul, didn't have the money for it, and the club wanted to do their own thing. So we've made our point, I think we've made the argument for here's a chance to consider not going, and it's a great discussion point for all Blues because this could come up again in a year or two's time or whenever. Is it a line in the sand or is it something where you still go? Putting a banner up, it probably won't get shown on TV. We've had a lot of coverage and everybody knows and everybody's got their own choice to make, and I think that's where we are. We're careful not to overdo things because we don't want a blue on blue thing and I'm better than you because I'm going, or I'm better than you because I'm not going. Yeah. When we come to the Burnley, we've got 3 trophies to defend. We're we're all on the same side, and it's a lovely situation because sometimes the support is split. But after those charges came through, that's when the whole ground just absolutely got behind the club in every way, and we're all on the same side. So I think it's not even falling out. I think if you're in a family, we're a family, you can have 2 people having a different point of view, can't you? You can have one person who votes Labour, one person who votes Tory, or you can have the difference of opinion, but you're still together, aren't you? So I know I'd look at it on them terms.
Here's a scenario, like if you dare say it, diehard City fans who are going to boycott it, and it gets filled with, say, tourists, and we end up filling Wembley out. Jesus Christ! But
apparently we've got 120,000 on a waiting list, haven't we?
Yeah, but to be fair,
they'll probably do something like they'll probably give like 1,000 loyalty points for each gate, for each ticket or something now, to get people to go.
But I do think what Dante's saying, and I think it is being relayed really well, through social media and stuff like that. Is nobody is having a go at those who are going. It's a case of, listen, this is what's planned. Here's your choice. If you go, not a problem. But this is a chance to actually stand up for against the establishment, if you like. But nobody's having to
interact with and follow on Twitter. Not social media.
No, but I think it's important to get that, and quite rightly what Dan said. It's not an us versus you situation. It's down to personal choice and stuff like that. My personal choice is I'm going to put my money to the food bank this year. Rather than go through taking an extra day off work and stuff like that, because Sunday doesn't work for me. It's simple as that, and I'm sure it doesn't for a lot of people. Stan, what do you think to the times and stuff like
that? The shockers, aren't they? I know we've got to pander to the TV and they've got to show the audience, and they're not that bothered if 50, 60,000 are in the stadium when they could get 17 million watching it. They've got no real interest. They just want to sell the product. Those that go, the ones who actually put the money into the club, into going to there, put into the time, the effort, just not listened to. We spoke about this before the 1894 group came out, and I said, I'd be boycotting it. I'm not the slightest bit interested in going to London for a match in a cup like that, because we know why it's there. just to keep the FA out of a hole. There's no reason whatsoever why that should not have been built in the Midlands, so it's easier for everybody. And it might have been an eye-opener for one or two of the Cockneys to suddenly realise you might have to get on a train. You know, you might have to go. You might have to go north of Watford, God forbid.
So I think it's start. I think it. Well, everybody, what Alex saying there, not turning up will cause empty seats, jibes, etc. Also, would Pep like it? It's not fair on the players. So what I would say,
it's a good job there aren't. Sorry, Andy. It's a good job there aren't any empty seat jibes at the moment, aren't there?
So what I would say,
so that's people who are more bothered about what other fans say on social media than the actual thing is. Who gives a shit what Leeds fans or Sheffield United fans think? Who cares?
Exactly. I mean, we've got
right. You make your own decisions based on what's right for our club. People too bothered about someone else said this on Twitter. Who cares? You know, it's about what is right. And if, you know,
we've got the aged experience, Dante. We've got the aged experience. We've been there. We've been all around the country. We've been to small grounds. We've been to big grounds. Nobody can be bothered about what Irate Albert from Anfield's thinking. Don't give a monkeys, man.
If there's one set of fans that have actually been the most sarcastic or whatever it is, the Liverpool fans. They're the worst. They're just real chip on the shoulder that we're better than them at the minute. That is what a lot of other fans I've seen through it and said, fair play to you. Once we realise it's for the right reasons,
It comes back to what you were saying. This country's just not geared for mass protests and getting things done. We don't do it. It doesn't matter if it's football or whatever.
Look at the state of the country now. People are just putting up with it, aren't they?
Exactly.
Stan Angfire and Marie, I'm gonna ask you this one first. We're relating to Alex's question here. Not turning up will cause empty seats, jibes, etc. Also, would Pep like it? It's not fair on the players. Me personally, I want your thoughts. I would say to Alec there is, do the fans think it's going to be fair of Pep if he doesn't put a full strength team out? So I don't think Pep would care in the slightest.
The other thing, Andy, is that comment there is assuming that 4 o'clock is a done deal. It's just said 3 o'clock. Move it to 3. There should be an excellent turnout. That's what's put out there about 10 days ago. I don't know what they're waiting for. It's like a stubborn thing. We've moved it once. We don't want to move it again. Negotiation is, well, that's not what you want us to come again for the 25th time in 10 years. Can you help the fans by making it 3 o'clock? I'm sure there'll be a better turnout, because 2.5 hours is a tangible difference. It means that that's roughly the time to get to Wembley from Manchester. So you can. It's more trains. It's easier congestion. Do you know what I mean? You're going to make this the big game of the day. Make it a 90,000 crowd. But if Pep's worried about Pep's probably on holiday. He probably don't care now. But if he's bothered, he will. All he's got to do is turn around to Soriano and say, make sure they kick off at 3 o'clock.
Don't forget, it's the same Pep who had 2 jabs at us this season about not filling the Etihad.
This is different. This is different. What I would say,
£75 a ticket under.
No, but listen, if it went from 4 o'clock to 3 o'clock, I for one would go, brilliant. I've already paid for my ticket for the food bank for the band on the wall. I will go. You know something? I'm going to Wembley. I've still helped the food bank because the money's going in there. But now they're seeing sense and they're bringing it. They're listening to the fans. I'll go and support the boys. And I think would you think a lot of people would do that, Marie?
Yeah, I do. And just in regards to Alex's comment, it's not fair on the players. It's not something I ever thought I'd hear myself say, but quite honestly, fuck it, because it's not fair on the fans. And at what point do we, make a stand? Because you're constantly forking out. And it's not just like we've said previously, it's not just a case of buying a ticket for Wembley. It's the cost of getting there and different things like that. At some point, it's a hell of a difference paying for us to get to Wembley than it is for Arsenal fans to get to Wembley. It's a massive difference. So I don't on this one occasion, I don't care what the players or Pep thinks. This is about us, the fans.
You're right. If the players and Pep are so worried about the fans not turning up, subsidise it all.
No, can I just ask a question? Because I'm confused. Is it the kickoff time or Wembley? Which is the biggest gripe?
Both.
So,
Martin,
for us, it was the kickoff time. Everybody's had an opinion saying we want to go Villa Park. That's not. We were particularly asking for that per se. In an ideal world, everyone would want Saturday 3 p.m. at Villa Park. However, what we said, there was no precedent for this game to kick off at Wembley at 5:30 on a Sunday. Never been done before, and it's gone from there. And they were very quick to say, well, 4 o'clock, take it or leave it. And the feedback we were getting was like, well, that's not enough. 4 o'clock still means it's a long day and this and the other. So for us, we said, look, 3 o'clock is where it will be, because there might be contractually issues where you can't move it from Wembley. So for us, that we've had a win already, but a big win would be 3 o'clock.
No, I agree. Maybe it's me. I don't see the difference between 3 and 4. This is what I'm trying to establish, because I agree with you. The R5 was because.
So yeah, but if you've got to bring a family of, if you want to take your kids to Wembley and you want to go either in a coach or in a car, and you're getting home at it's the difference between getting home at 11 or getting home at 1 o'clock in the morning. It gives you more time. It just gives you more time, and it's a sensible time.
This is the thing. It shouldn't be taking 6 hours back from London. Takes me 3 back into Manchester.
Yeah,
okay. I'm trying to get, because I've heard some say 1, 2, 3 in the morning. I can get to Scotland in that time.
So yeah, but okay. 4 o'clock kickoff. Hang on. It's 3 hours when you get on the road, and then you've got to stop. You might not stop on the way, whatever. People, to get from like Wembley car park, whatever, get onto the A road, get onto the M1 or the M40 or wherever it is. There's an hour and a half there for a lot of people, especially if they go on coaches in the coach park as well. And the whole point was they want in the full allocation to travel.
I think that's what I meant earlier. I think the coaches and driving are different. When I've driven, I've got home at 11, and that's at 4 kickoff.
And that might be great for you. For other people, it might not be the same.
No, I appreciate. No, I know that, this is why I was asking: is it Wembley or is it the time? Because if we get to Wembley for the Carabao Cup, the semi-final and the final, and the Champions League, by the way, is at Wembley this year, are we all not going to go? This is what I'm trying to. I'm not trying to think. I'm asking the questions back of, are we not going then?
Yeah, no, but I think I answered that, which was for a Community Shield, a glorified friendly. There's never been a 5:30 kickoff previously, and that put a lot of people off. And even when they moved it to 4, it's for a lot of people it still wasn't enough. So then we went back and said, "That's great, but can you make it 3?" Because they've not consulted with any fans. They only consulted with ITV, and ITV wanted to put it on at 4 o'clock. And ITV have got ITV1, ITV2, ITV3, ITVX, and all the other channels, free-to-air channels, where they can find a channel they can get rid of a carry-on film, and they can put it on at 3 o'clock if they want to put it on, still get loads of money, and fans can get about normal time. And as for if we get the Champions League final at Wembley, it might be a 7:45 kickoff on a Saturday evening. We kind of know that. I think the difference with most fans is you can't protest at every single game. There's trophies to be won. But in the scheme of things, you work things out. Fans are going to put up with that because it's a Champions League final. Just like we put up with walking to Istanbul 2 hours to the stadium and walking back into town because it was a Champions League final. We don't need to put ourselves through that for the Community Shield just because ITV are too stubborn to move the time back.
Absolutely.
One thing as well, I'd love to see that film. Sid James's Pep Guardiola on Carry On Winning Trophies. Is that one of the Carry On films they might not be doing? The thing is though,
I didn't even do Elsa in there.
They don't even listen.
Everyone dropping off one by one here.
No, it's Andy.
Anne-Marie had to go for personal reasons. I know why, but
the thing is, they don't even check about the kids and the people with disabilities.
Nope.
Kids coming home, they've got school in the morning. They've now got it that if the kid don't go to school, the parents can be fined. People with disabilities, they can't go 3-4 hours without going to the loo. They don't think of anybody or any circumstance whatsoever. It's just themselves and that little pot of debt that they built up, building a massive, massive white elephant. Go on, Andy, what were you going to say? Sorry.
No, nothing, mate. You just comedy gold. You just carry on. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I get both sides, and it just basically, ultimately, where's he gone again? Basically, it just comes down to personal preference, and for those as a summary, an overview. Yeah, nobody from the 1894 or anybody is saying, why are you going to Wembley? They're just like, if you want to go. It's not an us versus them, is it? It's it's as simple as that. Isn't it?
Everyone can see both sides, but obviously the issue here is like, at what point do you draw the line and say, take the piss? We as a collective, if you fans stand together, you get more done. If it's split, then they'll just do the same thing next year and the year after, but there's no point moaning about it. You're going to go then, fine, but there's no point moaning about it. And 7 o'clock, then 7 o'clock becomes 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock becomes 8:15. We're getting 8:15 kickoffs now in the Premiership, aren't we? Yeah. There's nothing to stop it, to stop a game being taken to Saudi Arabia, or a game being played in Texas or whatever. This is but fans, the proper fans, if some fans don't go, then that looks bad as a spectacle on the TV images. Then that affects the advertising, that affects the products. Then they do something. So you underestimate what we can do as individuals. We can actually force their hand, but you've got to be, if you feel strong-minded enough to do it, great. But if you're not ready to do that, and it's like, I love the club and this, that, and the other, who are we to say you can't do that? You've got to do what you feel is right for you.
I agree with you as well, Dante. You've got your hands tied behind your back a little bit, because whilst we're saying you should be doing this and then this and then this, you can only take it one increment at a time. You've won one concession, then you've got to win another concession. But this is where it'll end up. It's the very, very thin edge of a wedge that will come through, that games will be played at all sorts of times all around the world for the TV viewing. And it'll come if people don't do something about it.
And people won't be going then, will they?
Do you not think during COVID, they proved that they don't need the fans? And then they can take the games stateside or the Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, I wouldn't rule that out.
And personally, I just think the horse is bolted. Trying to shut the door after and that's again not I'm going to go at 1894 Dante or anyone.
That's a fair point too.
I think to a point when we got called customers 2 years ago, was it 3 years ago? Sorry, Arno. I just
don't think there's a better opportunity than what's coming up here. And from what I've seen, it's the pros of going to Wembley. It's not on the same scale as those who are, not going to Wembley. So listen, to summarise,
here's the point. It's the fans of the top 6 clubs, the English Premiership fans, that stopped the Super League. It was that our fans who said, we want competition. We're not having this. We're not going to go to a competition. And the clubs backed down straight away. And I know City said, well, we were led by the others and something. But, that ended because of fan power. And ID cards in the 80s were stopped because of fan power. And 30 quid away tickets came in off the back of 20s plenties because of fan power. And you've got the ability to do it. And it's no point just moaning about it on Twitter saying, oh, I got home at silly o'clock. Do something about it.
You can't see how many people are moaning these days since Musk has flexed his muscle on Twitter. Anyway, can we listen, guys? I think we'll park it there. I'm sure this is going to continue, and there's going to be loads more updates, in particular before the tickets actually come out. For the Community Shield. Dante, thanks for joining us, pal. Stan, as always, mate, thanks for joining us. Anne-Marie, Martin, and Paddy, and just as important, the guys in chat. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope it's been insightful as well, because there's been people not sure what it's all about. And I think it's Chris, where's he gone again? Jesus Christ. I think we'll leave it there. So yeah, thanks guys for all tuning in. Share the stream and stuff like that, because it'll be insightful for those who've not watched it, and they'll know what it's all about. Again, thanks very much, guys, and we'll do it again very, very soon. Goodbye.